Oh, hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode 95 of the Audible Farm podcast, and this episode is brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is roasted right here in Iowa. They make the order especially for whoever ordered it, so you're getting made to order coffee. How cool is that? It's like custom work, but it's coffee, and you can just grind it up and drink it. Boom. It's not it's not going to get much better than that. So you should hit them up, www.couchtowncoffee.com. That's the link. You will find all the coffee you will ever want there. Make an order this week, and you can even save 20%. All you got to do is enter the code word pork. The code word this week is pork. It'll save you 20%. Why? Because Couchtown Coffee supports live music. They love it. Andrew, the roaster there himself, is a musician, and that's one of the other things that makes it so cool. So you get to have some fresh coffee in the morning made by another musician, and it's just another reason that musicians are awesome. So check it out, www.couchtowncoffee.com. This week, you can save 20%. Enter the code word pork. Why? Why is the code word pork this week? I know what you're thinking. Pork. It doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense. I'm sitting down with Mike Schulte. Mike Schulte is the drummer in the Pork Tornadoes. Oh my gosh, if you haven't heard of the Pork Tornadoes, where have you been at? These guys are dominating the cover band scene in Iowa and beyond, as we learn in this podcast. They stay very busy playing a lot of shows, and unfortunately, the epidemic that's happened this year, the COVID, I guess it's a pandemic, but the COVID pandemic has definitely put a cramp in their plans for this year, but they are getting back at it later this summer, and I am super stoked about that. We talk about that. We also talk about the fact that Mike runs the Iowa Music Podcast. The Iowa Music Podcast is kind of like this podcast, except it's a little bit different, and that's one of the benefits of everybody's music podcasts around the state is they're all just a little bit different. Mike started out the podcast kind of discussing topical issues that, musicians and people face and ways to overcome them. And it was kind of like an advice column more than anything. And then he, changed gears and started discussing things that were going on in the scene with other people and getting their opinions. And it's a really good listen. I highly suggest people check it out. It's got a really easy name to remember, the Iowa Music Podcast. If you're looking for a podcast that's about Iowa music, probably check out the Iowa Music Podcast. I mean, we talk about all sorts of stuff as far as the bands he used to be in. A future project for originals called Dope Walker that has just started this year, so that will probably be firing up. Like I said, as soon as the pandemic is over with, I'm assuming that's going to get off the ground and grow some legs and start traveling around. So it's worth checking that out. There's links down below to everything. You're going to love this episode. I guarantee it. Check it out. It's episode 95 with Mike Schulte from the Pork Tornadoes.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Today, I'm sitting down with Mike Schulte. Mikey Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. It's it's one of these podcasts I get to do where I haven't met the person I'm talking to, but I have seen your stuff online, so I've got a good reference point. It's hard to miss the Pork Tornadoes online.
we make it that way. We make it so you can't avoid us.
I mean, 22,000 followers for an Iowa-based band? Are you kidding me? That's insane.
And let's just take that another step. A cover band, like that takes it to another level, I think.
I mean, that just goes to show you what you guys got going on, though. To call yourselves just a cover band is that's like understating something quite a bit, because you guys have a lot of production and stuff involved in what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into it. And a lot of the thing is for me, I spent a long period of my life in original kind of hardcore bands, trying to do the we're going to make it thing. And, never really got there. But then you jump into this cover band world and you're pretty it's hard to miss the differences of, oh man, there's actually money that comes in on this. And then you can take that money and you can reinvest it into your product. And it's just it took me a really long time to come to grips with that when I jumped into cover band land.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I talk about a little bit here and there on the podcast. It's a common theme that I get to run across because I play in a punk band that plays originals across the state, so I get to see that aspect of it. But a lot of the people I interact with and play guitar with at jam nights and around my area are in cover bands. And I mean, like you said, it's just the nature of the beast. Where if you're in a cover band, you're probably going to be seeing a little bit more income from doing what you're doing, and the best ones reinvest it back into the product, whereas if you're in an original band, you probably don't have very much money to invest into your reinvest back into your product. It's tough.
Well, and you usually do. You take that smaller amount of money that you make and you throw it back into the band fund that goes to pressing the new album or recording the new album. So it's just a different approach, and I've found such a love for both worlds, which was actually kind of a weird story, I guess I'll go into. Is I was in a band called Brian Jones, and this would have been from 1999 to 2006, and we were kind of a hardcore original band from Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area, and we did some touring and stuff, and we hit some coasts, hit I think 25 something states, cut 2 different albums. Never really, I mean, it was an amazing project and we had some local successes, but never really, you have that. I'm growing up in the era of, new metal, and you're looking at these bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit, and you're going, okay, like I'm going to make it. My band is going to be the next band that hits that. And then it doesn't happen, and you become an adult. And you think, I don't know if you went through this ever or if many of your guests have, but you think, okay, I'm an adult now, so music is for children and teenagers and college age. I don't play music anymore. And so I went through like a year and a half where I didn't play music. The band disbanded and everybody went their own separate ways. And it was actually joining a cover band that brought music back into my life. And so it's kind of cool to almost come full circle, because now I'm still doing the cover band stuff, but I actually was just able to get my first kind of original project off the ground recently here since 2006. So I've been out of the original game for a while, but it's just fun to almost come back around full circle and go back into that world knowing what I know now,
Yeah. When did you end up like jumping into the Pork Tornadoes then? Would that have been like 2008-ish?
Well, the band's technically been around about that long, but I didn't know. I was not an original member. They started up in Cedar Falls just as some friends that played at a bar called the Hub. Did you ever go to the Hub in Cedar Falls?
No.
It was honest to God, one of the best live music venues in the state, and it's sad it's been closed for about 5 years now. But the band kind of became the house band up there in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and I actually got into a different cover band in Cedar Rapids. That's how I got back into playing music. And we ended up opening up for the Pork Tornadoes at the Hub. And I met those guys and I was like, man, these dudes are awesome. I like hanging out with them. They're great. And I found out randomly about a year later that their drummer was moving out of state. So I was like, hey dudes, you know me. Let's hey, I could probably play some of those songs. Let me sit in. And I sort of weaseled my way into the band. And that was probably 2012, 2013, I'd say.
All right. So you've been doing that for like 8 years. What's some of like the crazier shows you've played? Because I mean, like I said, you guys have been playing all across the state. It seems like there's no rhyme or reason as to where you're playing. You're just playing big show after big show, all like here and there, wherever anybody will hire you. Because you guys, I want to say you played up near Emmitsburg, maybe up there somewhere near Okoboji or.
Okoboji area is a pretty big spot for us. You ever go up there?
I've been up.
You're like north central Iowa, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a little ways away. I've been up there before, but it's not a place I frequent.
Well, here's the thing about the Pork Tornadoes is, I have to deal with this quite a bit because I'm kind of the social media guy. So you see some of the negative things that people will say about there's this band and they just now all of a sudden they're playing all these big shows, and people don't realize how much time we've actually put into this project. I mean, like I said, it's been around in one form or another for, almost 12 years now. And we when I joined the band, even up until maybe 2016, 2015, I mean, we were playing shows for no one. Free show. There was one in particular that I always go back to reference. It was in Cedar Rapids. It was a free show, and it kind of had two separate spots. Like one side of the bar was the live music, and then on the other side was the like bar area. For an entire set, for an entire hour, there was not one person in the room where the music was going on. And I mean, I remember that so vividly, to then, a couple of years later, you gain some traction all of a sudden, and then we ran with it. But we've played some crazy shows. We've sold out the Paramount Theater in Cedar Rapids a few times in a row now. We actually set the attendance record for the McGrath Amphitheater, which is in downtown Cedar Rapids. We played in LA for a corporate event 2 years in a row.
Whoa.
It's like we were actually supposed to play again for the third year in a row on March 1st. And on the day before we were supposed to fly out there, we got a call from the conference, and they said, "Hey, we're pulling the plug on this entire conference because of COVID-19." And we're like, "What? COVID-19? It's not even in the US now. What are you talking about?" And sure enough, within a couple of weeks, LA became a really hot spot for COVID. And that would have been our last show that we would have played, but it was canceled last minute. So stuff like that. We played a gig in the Virgin Islands a couple of years ago. I mean, it's been a wild ride, I'll tell you.
That's insanity. Just a band from Iowa.
A band with a terrible band name.
Well, I mean, band names don't. I'm in a band named Three Finger Betty. Band names don't mean anything, Like, let's just leave it at that. But it's insane to think you're selling out whole entire venues. You're setting attendance records. You're flying, to an extent outside of the state in order to do these things. That's insanity as far as I'm concerned. There's not really that many bands that end up doing things like that. And
it's crazy, man, we are truly, honestly grateful for it. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that we're not really taking a lot of this for granted. Is we're still very humble people, and we get to employ people that, like friends of ours, which is a really cool concept to grasp, where if you're getting more money coming in, then you can hire more people, right? So we have roadies, we have production companies that we use on the regular that, we're talking any given show, we're employing like 12-ish people that are then putting money into their pockets and their families. So it's a really cool concept, I guess. And it's very unfortunate because I'm sort of in a depressed mode right now, because this is pretty much our high season right now, and we're just skating by. No show. We haven't played since February 15th. So it's one of the negatives about maybe being a higher tier band, where you can't just jump back into the bar scene. I mean, we're canceled at least until August at this point.
That's, that is another thing to think about. That's something, I guess, that never really even crossed my mind. Like, once you break that plane, it's tough to go back down to the bar scene, and it's like you're invading territory that you've let go already. You've surpassed it.
Exactly, and you don't want to. You know how the business is. The minute you undervalue yourself to promoters and to bar owners, that if you all of a sudden go back on the amount of money that you normally charge, then you're probably stuck there for a while, because they're like, well, you played for that earlier this year, and so it's a weird time, man. I mean, February 15th was our last show, and then that one in March got canceled out in LA, and then it's just been a stream of cancellations, and we've tried to do fun stuff just like everybody else has. We've been doing the live streams, and we've been doing like live drinking games from our house. I mean, like, whatever, try to keep people engaged. But I think in one of your recent episodes, you were talking to somebody about the live stream stuff, and it's been interesting. I don't know if you've noticed it, but the viewership is just down completely, because now that it's nice out, people are actually getting out and they're doing stuff. And I think the live stream's kind of dead at this point. It's either get out and gig or don't do anything right now.
Yeah, that was like about a 2 or 3 month area. If you were in the live stream game for that, it was you were on top of the world. I'm looking at some of your live streams here. You have one from 12 weeks ago, which has 33,000 views, and the one from 11 weeks ago only has 11,000 views. And
Right. Well, so yeah. Oh, go ahead, man.
and it's just like that's that 1 week worth of difference. It's like, well, the weather got nice, people started going outside. But I will have to say this: if you guys haven't seen any of the Pork Tornadoes the quarantine streams that they've done, go check them out. They're insane. It's absolutely insane because you're not just rocking an iPhone and walking around the building, which is honestly has worked out pretty well. But I mean, you guys have full blown production and lights and the whole 9 yards going down.
Yeah, we knew we had to, and that's why we didn't keep it up at a regular pace. We ended up actually airing some old concert footage that we never planned on airing before as some of those episodes, which was, I'm glad we had the footage. But as far as being together in the same room, that was tough. We all live in different cities, and then, being able to not put on the same type of production that people are used to, that was a big deal. So we only ended up doing like one full band live stream, and then we did one acoustic with just our 2 singers. So it worked out great. But now here we are with nothing else to do than just sit here and wait for new shows to pop up.
Yeah, if I can recall, did you guys play a show on DSM TV?
Yeah, kind of. So have you kept up with those guys? I mean, they were just killing the live stream game for a while there.
Oh yeah, it was. I didn't contact any of them to be on the podcast, but I was watching very carefully what they were doing. It was insanity.
You should consider it. They're all good friends of ours, and in fact, Jerry is the keyboard player singer for the Pork Tornadoes, and he's one of those members. And
oh, cool.
I'll never forget it. There was that time right around, I think it was actually St. Patrick's Day, if you remember that. There was these couple days leading up to St. Patrick's Day where things were getting weird around here, and they were saying bars were closing down, but then people were saying, no, we're still gonna party, and then it continued to get worse. And St. Patrick's Day for me was the day that everything shut down, and they took that and ran with it. They said this is normally a day when people go nuts for live music and partying, and so they somehow scrambled together, found this little TV studio, put their know-how together, and they did like a 6-hour broadcast on St. Patrick's Day, and from there it went nuts. And I'm so proud of what those guys have done, and we teamed up with them. Mason and Jerry went there back in early April and did an acoustic stream from DSM TV, and then we actually brought them remotely to Cedar Rapids a few weeks ago to do our full band stream. So they're doing amazing things, and now they're in that world where they're trying to figure out how to monetize it moving forward and put it into modern day applications, and they're getting there. They're figuring it out. But once I don't know if it's going to go away, but once COVID goes away, then there's not really a need for a live stream anymore. So what do they do then? And that's the trick for them right now at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually something that, I mean, when I first started Audible Farm, I wanted to try to make some sort of like video capturing of bands playing live. So I just used some like raw recording techniques with some microphones, and it was just like, let's just record this, and I'll just record it with a camera sitting in the corner, and this will be good enough. It's better than nothing. So like I was always intrigued by video production and things like that people were doing, and I hope it doesn't go away. I mean, there's different places that have incorporated some pretty good live streaming capabilities, and I still think it has an application somehow or another. It should. The problem, like you said, is going to be monetizing it.
Right, because that's the toughest part, man. I mean, like, how do you? For a while there, it was great. I'm sure if you've spoken with musicians about it, that April, pretty much those last couple weeks of March, early April, like people were very generous with donations, and I know there's some people that were making more money streaming online with donations than they were gigging out. But I think, again, the viewership, everybody was stuck at home, and now the viewership is low, and people are spending their money elsewhere. And yeah, it's like how to move into that next one. And it's unfortunate because all of us musicians finally learned how to like use this type of technology, and now it's like becoming obsolete, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I finally figured out how to set everything up for a live stream, but at the same rate,
Exactly.
I'm exactly like we said. I'm at this point where it's like, is this worth it at this point? And what am I gonna do that's gonna add any value? And there's always that tough weighing of your options as to whether or not you actually want to do it. Because it's a commitment to set up, cameras and lighting and make it look good.
And then it's technical difficulties, just like your amp going out on stage in the middle of the show or breaking a drum head. Like, it's the same thing. And now we're adding more things that can go wrong. Yeah. It's a nightmare. At the Paramount, when we did our full band live stream at the Paramount, like, we had a few technical difficulties on the live stream end, and John Locker, the kind of the head guy, was just losing his mind, going, I did not envy him at all.
Yeah, it'd be tough to try to man all of the knobs at once, and that's why, just seeing people do it, it's like the fact that they're out here doing this all by themselves is pretty wild. They set up like all the live streaming and the camera angles and the graphics and then not only that, but their amp, and you can hear them, and it, like you said, it's wild that it actually works when it does.
I agree. And I don't know about you. I mean, if you want to dive in deep to this, but I've been pretty staunch on the fact that 2020 will go down as we'll be able to look back on this year as a completely pivotal year on when the music business changed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're starting to see it now, but if you are out there and you're thinking you're going to operate the same exact way that you have in the past, now moving forward, I think you're going to get lost in the dust, because we're in a whole new era, and I don't even know what that era is yet. I think we're still trying to figure that out, but things are different now, and I don't know how we're all supposed to react to it and how we're supposed to adapt, but I guess that's what we're figuring out.
Yeah, I mean, I will 100% agree with you. We're in a spot now where it's different, but we don't know exactly what is the new different that we're trying to
Right.
look out for and do. I will have to say though, just like you, that it's weird that, like, I've noticed things that even in my own inclinations, as far as like scrolling through the internet, I used to just scroll through and be like, dude, this guy's crazy at playing guitar. This guy's crazy, and that's what my feed is a lot of, sharing of people playing insane guitar solos and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But now when I get to a point where it's like, oh, this is just a video camera. Like, it's just a phone, like, placed in the corner of a room, and it's not as good.
I think the video and audio equipment instead of the playing.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm like critiquing the whole package instead of just like, I mean, the guy's insane at guitar, yeah, but he could work on his video production skills, and it's like, why am I worried about that now when before I never was? It's probably because now everybody's worked on their video skills.
Oh yeah, and you notice it's separated people too. There's a few old timers, we'll call them boomers. I got much love for the boomers. There's some that I really love, but there's a few that were very vocal about this. I ain't watching this bullshit live stream. Music's meant to be in person, and I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to watch it. When in reality, everyone that was doing it was really keeping a hold of their fan base and providing content and getting better and learning new skills. And now, I seem to only hear from the people that continue to do things and adapt and evolve. And some of the older folks that were very anti the technology, I haven't heard anything from them. I forgot them. They've been lost in algorithm land on Facebook. They're gone, and it's kind of sad. But I mean, those who were putting in the time and adapting over the last couple of months, I think, are in a better place.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's like you said though, it's they had the ability to still grab a hold of their fan base somehow, and it was crazy because they started figuring out we can share it to different groups, and then different places can see us play, and maybe somebody might see us new and they'll share it to their friends. And I mean, it comes back to, like, if the production value is okay and it sounds good, you can just pull it up and put it on your big screen TV and pump it through your sound system all of a sudden.
Yeah, and that's what DSM TV was doing. I watched them go from a brand new thing in the middle of March to they're over 5,000-6,000 followers right now, and that is completely organic. That is just from people going, "Wow, love this! I'm going to subscribe and keep watching music from this channel." So, yeah, it's great. And as you know, I don't know if you're running the Audible Farm podcast page, and if you're running your band's page, but if you're not keeping up with your social media posts right now, and you're not at least trying to hit them a couple times a week, your dumb algorithms on Facebook are just going to shove you to the bottom, and you're going to start reaching none of your fans when you start posting.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you think about that, because I've actually, like, tried my best to figure out what is the best to get in on the algorithm, and, like, the only thing I can say for having my band's algorithm be discovered is when we post memes, it seems to work better than anything. And as dumb as it sounds, if you attach like a picture, like a funny picture with like an advert, it might work better than not. But that just goes to show you like the interaction on social media is so goofy. So you've got to stay with it some form or another. Like I do all the Audible Farm stuff, and I do my best to try to keep people at least a couple times a week, let them know, hey, here's the new podcast, and maybe remind them this is what happened last year, or here's a picture of something I did or a show I went to or something. I always try to keep them engaged somehow. And it's not always easy, though. It's not easy at all.
I've been doing, I don't know why I found a love for social media, but our band, once we got to a certain level, the Pork Tornadoes, we realized that we had to start dividing up our duties because, there's just a lot of things coming in and everybody's good at something. And so I was kind of the guy that became the social media marketing guy. They don't touch it. That is just my realm. That is all I do other than play drums. And I've studied it. And it's once you think you get a grasp on how Facebook works and algorithms, they change it. And something else becomes the thing that they want to pump. And you really have to keep up on that. It used to be, hey, make sure you post like once a week. And then it was like, make sure you post every day. And now it's how many times a day are you posting is almost the right answer. And it's so hard to come up with that kind of content and that amount of content, especially when we're not playing shows. And dude, I'm very it's a love-hate relationship that I have with social media because I love studying it and figuring out how it works. But at the same time, man, it's so frustrating.
Yeah. And like you said, if you're running the social media for anything, bands, podcasts, whatever it happens to be, your own art, you get to see the good and the bad. And that's like not all, it's not all sweet spots.
No, that's the truth, man. Yeah. I get to see all the hate, the mean tweets and all that stuff, which I love seeing that stuff. And we actually made a couple mean tweet videos where we read the mean things that people have said about us. And that's the kind of stuff people want to see. They want to see that kind of content. So those have worked out well.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's insane because like, I remember talking to the band Marbin and they had taken like all of the times anybody had insulted them online and they would try their best to come up with a quippy remark. And if they did, they would like, screen capture it out. And then they made a whole coffee table book out of it.
Dude, that's amazing.
And like it got to the point where they had hundreds of them and they made a whole book for it. And the only way you could get the book was to pre-order their last album. So it kind of,
amazing.
It fit in there very well. But like some of their stuff was pretty funny because they got to decide, when the end game was done. And that's kind of like what you said with reading the tweets online is most of the people aren't going to see the mean tweets or hear anything about it. But if you just kind of go on there and laugh about them, it's just like, well, see, these guys aren't taking it all that seriously. And, it's not doing anybody any justice to try to insult anybody out here because it's just rolling off them like water off a duck's butt,
Yeah, and I'm pretty adamant about that to like younger musicians or musicians that are, you'll see occasionally somebody will post like, look at what so-and-so said about our video. And then they'll go on this long, you don't understand what it's like. And this is why and it's like, don't even do that. Do not fire back to any trolls online. The best response is no response or something hilarious. Like usually on our YouTube page, we just had I don't know if you saw that, like we have a cover of Tennessee Whiskey that somehow just exploded on YouTube. It's got 4 million views and it's like the 4th or 5th highest viewed Tennessee Whiskey cover on YouTube, which is mind blowing because there's a million of them. But
that's wild.
That has so many. If you want to be entertained, just go read the comments because there is some love on there, but there is some really hateful things being said on that page. And usually we just kill them with kindness. Like, oh, this is the worst crap I've ever seen. And it's like, thanks. I'm glad you loved it. Please subscribe. Like we didn't even read their comment. I mean, it's amazing to me how mean people can be. And the worst thing you can do is to respond back to that and try to pick an argument because that's what they want. So I try to spread that knowledge wherever I can.
Yeah, man, I feel like Twitter was the world where like meanness, persevered the most, but now it's weird. Now it's weird because it's like YouTube is giving everybody on Twitter a run for their money, and I don't understand why. It's got to be
Replace.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like an old guy, but it's got to be a generational thing or like this weird like hiding behind a something whatever. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, it's strange, man. I don't understand it, but I think it means that you're doing something good. Like that's all I can tell people is if you get somebody saying something mean about you, usually people don't say mean things about stuff that's actually bad. I don't mean that as like a toot of my own horn, but you don't ever really. If you see a bad singer, you're like, oh, hey, good try, good effort. Keep on trying. Where if you see like a really good singer that you hate, you're like, you suck, man. I hate you. That's what I try to spread for anybody that's dealing with that is like, hey, they don't really mean it. They're just mad and jealous.
It's the Tom Brady effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
here, I'll give you an example if you want to read some here. You want to hear? You want to hear a good one? Here,
let's hear it.
Can I swear on? Can I swear on this podcast?
You can do whatever you like, man.
All right, so here's the most recent one. Hey, look at us. We're hipsters who play cover songs and buy shit from Whole Foods because we can't write our own songs. Fuck you, pork tornadoes. It's just endless streams of that, man.
Like and why? Like, what is that doing? Like, what is that guy doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you doing? That's so cool that you're so mad about. But I mean, I love that, man. I don't know. That just gives me. If anything, it's a little fuel. It's kind of like, okay, cool. We're doing something right. Let's keep moving forward.
Yeah, man. I want to say you guys, speaking of videos online going viral, congrats. First off, 4 million views is absolutely insane.
Thanks.
I want to say you guys have had other videos go semi-viral as of sorts, as far as like on Facebook. I recall seeing a cover of In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins that garnished quite a few views.
Was it? Well, there was two of them. So we made like an actual music video for that, which is on YouTube and Facebook. It's a one take shot in slow motion of us walking down a street, and it's pretty funny. It's one of the better ideas I've had. So if you want to go check it out, it's great. But then there was this one,
the live one.
Yeah, dude. So we played for the Minnesota Vikings tailgate, which they have this like area where everybody drinks beer before the game, and they go in and they have this permanent little stage that a band plays before every tailgate. And it's no big deal. It's just whatever. Band playing, you get a couple beers, you walk in the game. But we got asked to do that, and this was back in September, and we had met the Vikings drum line, which, by the way, I love. I'm a drummer. I absolutely love drum lines. These dudes were incredible. And we saw them earlier in the day. We said, hey, why don't you swing by our stage and then let's just do something impromptu. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever. And they come by, we stopped playing, and I ran off the stage, flagged them down, said, dude, let's do In the Air Tonight. And you guys come in on the drum fill. And they're like, oh, hell yeah, that sounds great. So we had never met, we had never practiced, and we just did it. And I told my roadies, I'm like, film this. This is going to be awesome. And so we put it up online, and our page got up to about 1 million on Facebook, and then people started stealing it.
Yeah.
And put it on their pages, which got like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million. And dude, if that's almost even worse than the Tennessee Whiskey video. If you want to see some mean stuff, it was bad on there.
Well, I don't know. It's just I can't understand. That's why that's what people gravitate towards, and that just seems to be the way everything goes in today's world. As a matter of fact, I read an article in Wall Street Journal, not to be like, whoa, Wall Street Journal, but
the Wall Street
Journal. Look at me. No, but it was, let's see here. Bob Dylan says, good news in today's world is like a fugitive, treated like a hoodlum and put on the run. And isn't that the truth, though? I mean, being on social media,
God.
You see it every day.
Well, you've been there before. I've been there where you see something cool and you're pissed off that you're not doing something, and you're sick at home and somebody's out on vacation, and you're just like, oh, fuck these guys. Oh, that's bull. That's what social media does to us. And it's such not only looking back on 2020 as being a year that changed music, but I think we'll look back on the creation of social media in general as one of the worst things that's ever happened to humanity, because there is so much depression and hatred in the world right now, and I think it almost directly stems from social media and the brainwashing that we see, and you only see people at their best 1 millisecond moment of their life on social media, and it's not like that. But if you see it over and over and over and over and over, it's the same with bands too. I had this conversation with somebody the other day. They're like, man, look at your shows. Your shows are so incredible. And I told them, like, our photographer takes 400 photos and I only pick 6 to put on there because they are absolutely perfect. The rest don't make us look good. And so, like, that's what we're ingrained to, only see the best of people at bands, whatever. And I think it's really causing some major depression. I feel it is. I feel more depressed in the last couple of years than I ever have.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel you though. Like, I've done exactly what you said, where you just kind of get so jealous of somebody else doing something that you're like, why can't I do that or whatever? But I also realized everyone's got an opinion and opinions aren't facts. So I try my best to keep my opinions off of the internet. And
that's start number one right there.
So I mean, if you go through the history of my social media as of late, it's usually just me sharing Audible Farm stuff and talking about, talking about other people's cool things they have going on. I'm not going to share my opinion, but
do you feel better knowing that you're not trying to force these opinions on people? Do you feel happier in the last little while than you ever have, or what do you think?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I would say for a while I did, but as of late, just watching everybody yell at each other online, I'm not sure. And like, I get that people have different opinions, but it's weird that people are attacking each other for having different opinions when you can go outside and your neighbor is still your neighbor and everyone's still cool with each other. But like, for some reason you get on social media and all of a sudden everyone wants to fight, and I don't get it. But
I don't either, man. And that was one of the things, I think that's really how we kind of first connected, is that I wanted to start I didn't know about Audible Farm, but I started the Iowa Music Podcast, which actually originated from a Cedar Rapids music scene group that I started. And it evolved from me just seeing how much people like can't connect and get jealous of things. And you're at one level and someone's at another level and you can't connect. And I wanted to be that person that was like, well, hey, yeah, we've had some recent success as a band, but I want you to know that I'm insanely approachable and that you can message me and ask me any question about anything, and I will tell you the answer. I will give you booking contacts. I will like, creating some sense of community has to start at a very small level. And I think musicians are such a great catalyst for that, because if musicians can come together, we have so much influence on people around us and our shows and stuff, that if we can create a nice community, maybe that will spread. I don't know. I mean, it's been a little while, and I think you're doing the same thing with Audible Farm, where you're just letting people into the lives of all these other musicians and understanding that we're all the same people. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of music we play. It doesn't matter where we're from, how popular our band is. We're like the same people. We have the same concerns. And that I think that really creates a sense of community. And I've been enjoying catching up on your podcast.
I'll appreciate it, man. And it's exactly like you said. I kind of got tired of the negativity online, and I was like, if there's anything I can do that will help, push forward all this cool stuff I see going on, I will do it. And I'll do it on my own dime and take time out of my week to do it, just for the simple fact that I think that, like you said, one of the reasons I didn't play a lot of music in my 20s was because I figured everyone was better than me, but I would go to shows and watch people say bad things about one band while enjoying a different band. It's like, dude, all these guys are great. Like, why does everybody gotta not get along within a scene? And it wasn't until I started playing shows again, I saw some of that still went on, and it was just kind of weird to think that people that play shows together, with other bands, and some people don't get along. And I didn't understand why people wouldn't like one another. And I was just like, well, maybe these people just need to get to know each other and understand, like you said, that we're all humans, so I just bring everyone on and I talk about, like, what are some of the things that you face that are, some of the, troubles or things that have gone through as far as music wise that were some of the harder things, and I get to learn the dichotomies between, like you said, cover bands or regular bands, but you still get to see the parallels that everybody has. And
that's been a huge thing. I don't know if it's in your area, but in the Cedar Rapids area, there's always been a pretty thick hatred between cover bands and original bands. It's been a very divisive line, and I've been trying to get past that. And I feel like we've done a great job just having conversations with original artists that also play in cover bands or cover bands that are writing original music, just showing people that it doesn't even matter. Like, we're all so lucky to know how to play music and to be in a band. Like, I still, the reason I've been so depressed the last 4 months is I haven't had that time on stage with my best friends creating music and playing in front of people. Like, I mean, it's a total gift, and it doesn't matter what style of music you play or if you're covering other people's music, it's the best. And I hope people can remember that. That's what I try to push all the time, is it just doesn't matter. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, up here in Northern Iowa, there's not really enough musicians available to, a lot of people play originals and cover bands, or,
Right.
I first realized when I went to jam nights where it's like, well, there's all these different people. Some of them play an original band, some of them don't. And, I don't live in Des Moines where Three Finger Betty plays most of its shows. I live in Northern Iowa. So when I go to jam nights up here, it's like I play in a punk band, but it's like, well, if we're all playing some blues stuff, I'll get up on stage and play some blues. So people start to realize, well, like, oh, just because this guy's in a punk band doesn't mean he only plays 3 chords and
Exactly.
yells a bunch. Everybody has more depth than they show on stage. As much as, as cool as it is to see the Pork Tornadoes play on, live on stage, like, I'm sure every one of you has much more depth than a cover band, like just being a cover band. And like I said, if you watch the videos, you see you guys live, you can totally tell that you guys have the ability to put on such a good show that it's breathtaking, just to say the least.
Well, it's always been, I never really realized. I tried to. Somebody asked me once. They go, "Why is this such a big thing? Like, why do people gravitate towards you?" And I think there's a lot of answers to that. I think it's you have to be good, and I'm lucky. I mean, dude, I am a very average, mediocre drummer. I sit in the pocket. I'm just right there. Like, I'm like a referee. The best referees are the ones you don't notice. Like, I'm just right there, right? But the guys I'm surrounded with are absolutely incredible musicians, and we truly do love playing with each other. But the one thing that I've figured out looking back is we've created some sort of a little club atmosphere for fans, like where they go. And it's not just a show. It's just a gathering of people in a good mood, and it's always going to be a fun time, and everybody's going to be happy. And I think there's some intangibles when you're thinking about building your brand as a band is creating an atmosphere that people want to be in and that everybody can feel safe. And a huge thing, obviously, in today's culture, like in an inclusive culture where it doesn't matter who you are or what you like or what you look like. Who cares? Come have fun with us, because everyone here loves you. And so it's been weird to look back on that. We didn't plan on that, but it just sort of happened. And I think that's a huge catalyst for anybody that's trying to build a brand beyond what you have, is look at what the culture is like among your fans. I think that's a huge deal.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually taking a strategic management course right now, and that is like the keystone of the very first step of making a plan for a business, is to look at the social environment and the culture of your market. So, yeah.
Look at me. Look how smart I am.
Oh, man, that's awesome. So you've got like a level 400 business strategy class under your belt already.
I didn't even know. But yeah, but that's the thing I've learned, is that everybody, if you find some success, you have to give back. And that's why I kind of started the music scene group in Cedar Rapids, and the podcast is like, I just want to give any information that I have and things I've learned. And I want to help you. Like, Iowa's so full of incredible musicians. I mean, it's unbelievable how many talented musicians we have in this state, and letting people learn about them like you're doing. And I kind of started doing some more interviews on that podcast as well, of just, tell us, let's learn about you, which is one of the best things, is because you really can sit back and appreciate where somebody's come from and why they are where they are. And yeah, it's great. Podcasts like yours are super great things for our music community.
Yeah, and I do want to say though, Iowa Music Podcast, that is your podcast. It's easy to find. It's aptly named. It's about Iowa music. Did you think that when you were going to start a podcast that would be an available name?
I couldn't believe it, dude, because it was called the Cedar Rapids Music Scene Podcast. Which if you were at, like, you're coming up on 100 episodes, aren't you?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. So we're at, like, I don't know, 50 or something like that, because I don't churn them out as fast as you do, but it started off as me more or less like trying to give some advice and like picking topics. Like we would talk to venue owners and like we would talk about contracts and we would talk about using social media correctly, which were great. So those first 10 to 20 or so episodes, if you want to go back and listen to them, they're amazing. They've got some incredible content in there, but it slowly became, I had a bit of a transformation over the last 6 months to a year where I felt like I was like preaching and I'm like, look at me, look at all this information I have and look how awesome I am. And you should pay attention to what I'm saying and what I say is right. And if you don't think that what I say is right, you're wrong. Like I didn't mean to be that way, but it started to come out that way. And I took a really big hiatus where I said, this is dumb. Let's go back to what this is all about. Let's go back to community and who cares who I am. Let's learn about other people. And so we're back on track. And that's when I changed it to more of the Iowa Music Podcast. Let's not just stay in Cedar Rapids here. This is about the whole state. And I know so many great people in Des Moines and Western Iowa, Northern Iowa, Cedar Falls, Iowa City, Dubuque. There's so many great musicians out there that why limit it to Cedar Rapids, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's kind of what I was doing with like Audible Farm. I spent a lot of time in Des Moines and I thought, well, let's just do this about Des Moines musicians. And then I was like, well, I live in Northern Iowa and there's everybody's right in my backyard. Just go talk to them.
Man. Just go talk to them.
Yeah. And I mean, for a long time, I was only doing face-to-face podcasts. I would have to schedule as many as I could to meet up with everybody, like whenever I could, just to hope I would have enough episodes to not have to like do a solo episode or something. And eventually I started doing Skype and it was a little bit easier. The audio quality is not as good, but whatever. It's still insanely good compared to what I thought it was going to be initially. So
yeah, and it sucks, man, because like we're having a great conversation, but it's so much. I'm a people person, like in person. I wanna see your face while I'm talking and while you're talking, and I think it helps people riff a little bit better. But you know what? Like we're adapting. We're figuring it out as we go. But that's kind of why I haven't done as many episodes as I used to just recently, because I want to get back into person. And I'll tell you what, too, just to go back real quick on the kind of all-inclusive culture is the last episode that we did actually, I wanted it to not really be about music. And I met up with two of my African-American friends that are musicians in the Cedar Rapids area, and we spent about an hour and a half just talking more about that topic that clear thing that's happening in our society right now and racism. And that's the kind of stuff that I'll be proud of when this is all over, is that episode where we talked about racism and how we can all be better, especially in the music community. And then also we did like a mental health episode where, that's so important. Musicians are supposed to be these cool people and, no big deal. We live the rock star life, but man, like sometimes musicians are the ones that need the most like mental health things, we need to be better about that. And so those are the kind of things that I'll look back on and be proud of with our podcast of what we've discussed and what really means something, I guess.
Yeah, I totally get that too. 'Cause musicians run into this weird area where people think like, oh, they're so broody and, they've got all these deep emotions and that's just the end of it. But, keeping with a positive mental health, I think is going to be something that is going to be a hot topic, in the near future going forward. It's going to come to the front, I think, because, let's be honest with ourselves. You can't sit at home and do nothing for 3 or 4 months and come out the other end of it being the same person you were before.
I agree, man. I'm different. I feel different than I did back in February. I'm sure it's the same for yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's steer the conversation back to positivity of how awesome it is that you've got a music podcast, and I'm not the only one in the state doing it alone. And I don't want to make it sound like you and I are the only two people doing it either.
Oh, because there's more, isn't there? Yeah.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I think I've found quite a few. Let me see. You got the Indie Music Room. You have I Hear I See, Brutal Breakdown, Beers with Bands, Inside the Bird Room, as well as some like radio shows that are also available. So we're not the only ones, but
what did you say? Beers with Bands? Is
yeah.
that what you call it?
Yeah,
That sounds incredible, and I'm jealous I didn't have the idea.
Yeah, the logo for that one is PBR blue ribbon, and it says beers with bands in the middle. It's
I mean, that's perfect. I'm very envious of that one.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think is cool is everyone that's doing the podcast has a little bit of like a different take on things as far as like I sit down and I just talk to musicians about what they have going on or entertainers and artists and such, and you seem to tackle like hot button issues, as far as what I would just call like important topics that may or may not be at the forefront of music as a whole. And everybody does different recording styles, and everything still turns out really well. It's pretty cool that we have all these things going on. Did you ever really think to yourself like, a podcast is the thing that I'm going to do next? This is going to be the next big thing.
No, never, man. Like here's the thing. I mean, I'm sure you can, if anyone's listening to this, they can sure as shit say, hey, that Mike guy likes to talk. And I do, I'd love to have conversations with people. And so it's natural to just go, well, why don't we, how many times did you say, why didn't we record? Like, I wish that conversation was recorded. That's really what it was for me is I've had so many great conversations with people. It's like, man, I wish we weren't the only ones hearing this. And that's really what the beauty of podcasts is to me, is sitting in and feeling like you're part of a conversation. So I felt like it was just like my duty, which sounds so stupid now looking back on it, but my duty to help share knowledge and use a platform where people might pay attention to what I have to say to help make others, more popular and rise them up. So yeah, dude, it's a combination of fun stuff I like to do with something that I'm hoping will help, I guess. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it for a lot of people is just basically like, I can do this. Why wouldn't I do this? It just, if there's another tool that I can give anybody, I would love to give anybody that tool, the availability to sit down and be able to talk about what's going on or let their opinion out or hear their story or just help personify these people more. Cause I mean, like I've talked to some people on my podcast that are just insane musicians, and it's like, how did you get to where you're at? And it's like practice, and so it's these people are real people. They have real thoughts, and it's not like they got a shortcut to go where they were going, and there's
no blueprints, that's for sure.
No, and there's no right or wrong way to quote unquote eat this Reese's. It's I mean, like you said, you started out not in a cover band, and maybe cover bands weren't your favorite thing, and then it was actually ended up being the thing that got you back into music, and now is like one of the driving forces to have you play music again. And that's a crazy cool story in and of itself. I played in like a cover band that covered punk songs, and then when I saw the local scene was full of bands that were playing their own music, it's like, I can't write music very good. So I just quit playing guitar and was like, I'm not as good as these people, but it took to the fact that I actually got better at playing the guitar, maybe not songwriting, but that's what got me back into music. So, there's all these different little things that everybody has that makes them what they are. And like you were talking earlier about maybe starting up a new original band. Was that right?
Yeah, actually, so 2006 was the end of Brian Jones, which you can check us out. We're on Apple Music, Spotify. We even got a page with some old B-side rarity recordings. But that band ended in 2006, joined the cover band world in 2008, and moved forward. But I just recently got asked. I was doing some studio musician stuff where I'd play drums on albums for people down at Flat Black Studios in Lone Tree. If you've ever heard of them, they're incredible studio. And I kind of got closer with some of my idols from college. I went to the University of Iowa, and when Brian Jones was playing, there were some unbelievable original bands that were a little older than us, so they were just like, we kind of idolized them. One of them being a band called 10 Grand, which used to be called the Vita Blue. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They were easily one of the most amazing hardcore bands I've ever seen, and they toured Europe and they did all these crazy things. The singer unfortunately passed away in 2003, and that was kind of the end of the band. But I used to idolize these bands, and then they were going to do this project where they needed a drummer, and they were just going to start putting together some tunes. And they asked me because I had done some studio work for them, and it was like dream come true. They said, hey, can you be down here next Friday? And I'm looking at my calendar, and I have a full day of things I need to do, I go, yep, I'm wide open. Like I just deleted all the appointments I had. And so the band's called Dope Walker. And it's got one member, Joel Anderson from 10 Grand, the Vita Blue, two members from the Plastic Constellations, which were a kind of indie rock band from the Twin Cities back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And then William Elliott Whitmore, folk singer from down southeast Iowa.
Yeah.
So those guys plus myself are called Dope Walker. And we ended up just messing around in the studio for about a week or so and came up with 10 songs, which is now being released by Modern Radio Records up in the Twin Cities. It's available for pre-order right now. There's 2 tracks that you can preview on Apple Music and Spotify, and the full album comes out in July. And it's just been so cool just to have that, like just the creative outlet where that it's not like you're not making a living off of it. You're not worried about how many people are showing up. You're just doing it to do it and feel good about it. And I haven't had that original feeling in a long time. And it's been amazing, man. I'm so proud of how the record turned out. And already there's a lot of kind of buzz around it. And I'm just really excited for it to come out. So it's been great to sort of come full circle on that whole thing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think that, I guess I'm sure you just kind of have the itch to be able to express yourself differently after a while. And that's just an artist at heart. They just always looking for that new outlet, that new way, that new next thing they can do. And this gives you something that you might not be able to do while being, in the Pork Tornadoes.
Yeah. And it's just fun. And you know what's been really crazy is learning that I used to hate cover bands, cover bands, whatever. And then I get in one, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand. But being able to take aspects of like being in an original band, it's all about creativity and expression and do what feels good. And to be able to take those aspects into the cover band world, it has been amazing because, cover bands are like, nope, you got to play it just like they wrote it. It's like, no, you don't. Let's put our own spin on this and let's make it feel good to where we like this. And so doing that has been amazing. But then also now going back into the original world, having been in a cover band and having been playing to click tracks for 5 straight years and making my chops better and being a human metronome on the drums, like being able to then take that to the studio as an original band and 1-2 takes on drums for every song, like that kind of stuff, the confidence level that the cover band has given me now fits into the original band world. So that's why I've always been, I cringe when I think about myself back in the day being like, oh, cover bands, I hate those guys. Like, no, dude, who cares? Like everybody, I love original bands. I love cover bands. I love anybody that's playing music. And I hope that other people understand that it's music. It's great. It's amazing. And we can all learn from each other.
Yeah. That's the one thing I started to realize when I started getting better at the guitar. It's like, well, I can play punk stuff and blues stuff and some metal stuff. And, the farther I got into everything, I was like, well, all of these, like, I only know the basics, like enough to be passable. Whereas when you start to watch other people just ripping it up, it's like, this guy's insane. He's doing stuff I would have never thought of, couldn't have been able to do. It wouldn't have come out of my brain ever. And here they are out there doing it. And, so it helps you kind of understand and enjoy other people's music a little bit more, I think, as far as just being a spectator.
Dude, and if I can tell you anything, again, as being the weakest link in my band, I mean, like, you need to be good. Like, you need to be a good player, but if you're not the best player, what else do you contribute to your band? Are you really good at marketing? Do you know how to use Photoshop? Do you know how to make flyers? Do you know how to book? Are you a really cutthroat booking agent? Like, there are so many other aspects of being in a band other than just playing. And that like, if you want to further your career, like, what else are you good at as well that you can help want these musicians to be around you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I at one point in time remember a meme going around that was like, here's an actual picture of me skating on the talent of my fellow bandmates. And it was a guy playing a guitar, like standing on top of a person body surfing. And it just like made me think like,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I mean, that's me in the metal band I was in. Everyone was so talented. And I was like, why are you guys letting me and why are you getting me involved in this? And then before you know it, you step your game up to their level. Being around people that are better at things than you actually can make you better, just by being around them and picking up their vibes. And I mean, it's all about environment. It always is. But like you said, it's also about what else can you attribute to this, because it's so much more than just playing music on a Friday night,
Yeah. I mean, there's so much. In fact, I've been kind of trying to write some articles, like musician help type articles. I haven't done anything with them yet. I don't know if I'm going to make a YouTube video out of it or what, but one of them was 6 ways to be an asset other than you're playing in a band. And I thought really hard about that. Is there are a lot of ways that you can be a helpful person to further your band's career. And there are a lot of ways that you can be a negative impact on your band, because, you're not just representing yourself anymore. You're representing a group of 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And now you start going back to this social media stuff of anybody spewing hate now. They are now associated with you. If you have a band member that is doing terrible things online, they now are a part of your life and your band's life. And that is a negative aspect. And so just going back to the being a good person is a very huge attribute of you as a musician to help your band out, is being somebody that people like instead of somebody that people hate.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for that too. The associative factors that go along with being in a band, it's tough to be in a band with people that are, not well liked. And it's pretty obvious when you're in a band with people that aren't well liked. And it's not that I have much experience with that at all, but it's definitely a thing to consider, because, you've seen it tear other bands apart or things like that, and it's kind of a rough thing to, go about is choosing
bad conversation.
What's that?
That's a tough conversation to have, is like, hey, Bill, sorry about it, but people don't like you very much, so you can't be in our band anymore,
Yeah, or it's tough to tell someone to hey, stifle just a little bit, but it's like, I'm never going to tell someone how to live their life. So I'm just it's just yeah, well, this is just the way it is. And
you got to make that choice on your own. You can't really force anybody else to make that choice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the best parts about podcasts like yours and mine maybe too. Haha, let's throw me in there too.
Yeah, throw it in there.
But it's about positivity. It's really about what are these people doing, what did they do? What have they done? What are they going to keep doing? What are the things that they have accomplished in their lives? What are the things that were tough for them to accomplish, but they still persevered and did it anyways? There's a lot more to the story than just the face value and what you see on social media and what you think about these people based on watching one of their videos on YouTube and then making a comment,
Right, exactly.
There's more to this than the comment section on a 4 million plus view video. I'm still blown away by that.
Dude, it's my, and here's a weird story about that Tennessee whiskey video is, knowing what I know about social media, I have been pretty right about a lot of things, but I was very wrong. This would have been, I think it's been 3 years. I think we put that video up 3 years ago, but we recorded it and I was adamant about putting it on Facebook instead of YouTube, because Facebook, their view algorithm, I think, a 3-second view counts as a 3-second view counts as an actual view, where YouTube's you got to watch it for probably at least a fourth of the video for it to count as a view. So I'm thinking oh, cool, Facebook will accumulate views faster and it'll be seen more. And we put it up and we got up to about 100,000 views. It was getting some traction, and then it got taken down by Universal Music Group. This was back when Universal and Facebook were arguing about monetization of their content, and they were removing anything because Facebook wouldn't pay them. So they were just taking everything down, and it got removed, and I got put in Facebook jail for 7 days because I was the one who uploaded it.
Oh God.
And I was so frustrated, dude. And my bass player, Corey, is like, we got to put that on YouTube. I said, well, dude, no one, you've put things on YouTube, no one sees it. There's 47 trillion videos on YouTube. How's someone going to find this? And somehow it just, people found it. I don't know how they found it, and they watched it, and it's been an amazing ride watching that thing just go from nothing to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. I mean, it's crazy. It's to truth be told, it's a really great audio recording, but it's one of the maybe poorer videos that we've put together. It's just not very interesting. just kind of a whatever, like we just kind of threw it together. So it just goes to show you, sometimes it doesn't even really matter what the content is. It's just what people want and what's popular at the moment, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as far as rolling the dice on, what kind of songs you guys are going to choose, do you have any like rhyme or reason as to what songs you choose for what you're going to try and cover? Or
dude, we've gotten a lot more picky. It used to be what are the popular songs? What do people want to hear? Because that's what they want to hear. But now we've gotten to the point where it has to be something that also excites us. Because I love. I would say my musical tastes are all over the board, and so are the rest of the band. I mean, right now I'm on a huge Deftones kick because White Pony's 20-year anniversary. So I've just been like reliving Deftones, and so like we don't all love pop music, but at the same time, pop music is you understand why it's so popular. It's just so polished and so perfect that it has to be a popular song, but it has to be something that we actually enjoy and that we like and we want to play every night. So it is a tough process. And actually what we've started to do lately was we feel this might be kind of self-centered, but we feel that with our popularity, it's also our duty to let people know about songs that maybe they haven't heard of yet. So we're going to start as of this year doing less popular songs that we love that maybe the audience doesn't know, that we can sort of force those songs on them and be like, you need to hear about this band. This band is incredible. And maybe you've never heard the song, but it's an amazing song. And so it's a huge process, dude. I mean, like we'll spend 4 months before we actually agree on new songs to hit our set list, but you got to feel comfortable. You can't fake liking a song. You have to really genuinely like a song when you play it, or else people are going to know.
Yeah, it's very transparent when somebody's not enthused by what they're doing.
Yes, very. And so we legitimately, like, I really like all the songs we play. I mean, we played Taylor Swift, and like Taylor Swift's an incredible songwriter. In fact, have you heard, this would have been maybe 4 or 5 years ago when Ryan Adams covered her 1989 album. Have you heard that?
No, I have not.
So, Ryan Adams, he's a great folk singer. He took her entire teeny bopper pop 1989 album and recorded it as like a folk album. And it just goes to show you how good those songs are. I mean, they are very well written. And, pop music is popular for a reason. It's because they know the formula and they go after it.
Yeah, definitely. Pop music is one of those things you can say, like, if you've heard a song like once or twice and you retained like 75% plus of the lyrics, like for no reason, like it just comes on again. You're like, I know all the words to this. How do I know all the words to this? And you just do. That's what happens with pop music. It gets stuck in your head, and
completely. They know what they're doing, man. It is like a science. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I would say it's easy to be bitter at pop music too, being a musician, because it's the one thing you want to be respected for, something other than some musicians might call it like a cheap formula or something like that. But if you're actually out there playing the music, I bet it's a lot more fun, is the deal.
It is, because it's the least technical music that I've ever played in my life. Like there are some very intricate moments that we've created and you got to be right on. But at the same time, it's more the enjoyment. It's like the ride. It's not when I used to play in Brian Jones, it was like, if I lost focus for 1 second, I would completely screw up and the song would mess up. And so I was you couldn't almost enjoy it because you were concentrating so hard, where this, you're like, I'm on autopilot right now. I've been playing the song so many times. Like, let's do this. And I agree, man. Like, it's easy to be upset at popular music when you think of a band like, let's think like Animals as Leaders. Do you know them?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So like, the whole world needs to hear that and how absolutely incredible those musicians are. But it doesn't work that way, because the whole world will not like that or know how to appreciate that. It's just people like what they like, and you can't force it on you. You can't judge them for liking what they like.
Yeah, if I could draw a parallel to like the comedy world, like there is some music that is music made for musicians. Kind of like there are some comedians who are comedians for other comedians, and their stuff might not be funny to the general audience, but it's super hilarious. Yeah, the other comedians love it, and it's like they're not going to be the people going on world tours and things like that, because
Totally.
And
we laugh too. Have you ever seen that shirt? There was a Tosin, the guitar player for Animals as Leaders, was wearing this one night. It was a shirt that said, "Animals as Leaders, we're better musicians than you," is what he was wearing. And like no one would argue that because they're literally the best.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Good luck arguing.
Good luck competing with that.
Yeah. Somebody who plays a guitar like Victor Wooten plays a bass, like get out of town.
Right. And just a little insight, like, here we are, our singer Mason Grieve, like, was a finalist on The Voice. He plays pop music, he sings girl songs, but like he owns a 7 and an 8-string guitar because he loves to shred like Animals as Leader songs and Deftone songs, and because that's his favorite type of music. So, it's just a little insight that you can't really judge a book by its cover, really.
No, and that is also the ploy of the artist, is like just because just because he enjoys one thing and wants to do that thing, like artists have always struggled whether or not they want to. The commission thing was like, I made all this cool stuff, and somebody sees all the cool stuff you've made, and they're like, hey, make me something that's not any of this, but make it like this instead. So it's like you went through all this extra effort to do all this cool stuff just to have somebody say, custom make it for me, and it's totally. It's that weird double-edged sword. But like some people have found a way to toe both sides of that line very successfully.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's it's just a tough world. Our artistry is just such a tough world that the general public doesn't really understand what artists go through to give their all, to have nobody care, or to, even with being in the Pork Tornadoes now, is realizing that people don't understand how much work goes into it. I mean, we put endless hours into our shows and into booking and into production and lights and video walls, and it's endless. There's more work now that I do for this band than we did 5 years ago, but people don't understand it, and so you wish they did, but at the same time it doesn't matter. Like you as long as you're having fun and as long as the product's good, like it is what it is.
And that's what it comes down to, man. As long as you're having fun, as long as you love doing what you're doing, there's probably nothing wrong with it, as long as you're not hurting anybody else doing it.
As long as you're not hurting anybody, exactly.
Yeah. So and that's
COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't want to do that.
But I mean, that seems to be the most common theme throughout this podcast. Almost every episode, people just say, I do this because I like to do it, not because I'm going to ever become famous, not because I'm going to go on world tours, not for money or women or glory or whatever. It's always just because they like to do it. And that's the one thing I think that draws me into music so much, is the fact that almost every single person I talk to only does it because they like doing it. And that's
has to be the number one thing. It can't be anything else. You have to start with that. If we're talking a pyramid here, your bottom base has to be, this is so much fun and this is why I do it. And then from there, you can move up. Like, okay, maybe people like what you're doing, and okay, now maybe people are coming to your shows and there's a lot of people, and then now maybe people are paying money for it, and then maybe you're going on a huge tour, but it has to, that base layer has to be there. It has to be, or nothing else will work.
Yeah. I mean, what's the use of going out on a tour if you hate every drop of it?
Oh my God. Wouldn't that be the worst? I mean, touring's pretty tough anyway. Even with your best friends, it's like the best, worst experience of your life. But if you hated playing music, I mean, geez, that's not even cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? I mean, I couldn't imagine. The amount of people that have been on tour is slim compared to the amount of people who have picked up a guitar with the dream of going on tour. And it just makes me think, like, spitefully, like, how many people were out there and just hated every drop of what they were doing. It's like, give someone else a chance, man.
Did you talk about that with somebody recently, where you were talking about that not many people really get to have that experience of going somewhere, whether it's for a couple days, of leaving your town to go to a new town and like playing music for these new people that don't know who you are, and then coming home? Like, that is a very rare experience that not many people get to do. And I still look incredibly fondly back on my days with Brian Jones of going on tours and us versus the world. I mean, I don't know if you talked about that on an episode or if I heard that somewhere else, but that's such a great sentiment.
Yeah, I believe it was actually the Jeremy Ober episode. He had went to Texas for the winter just to go see what was going on for the most part, and It's just crazy. It all ended up being this big, crazy experience for him. He had the ability to do a lot of things that people aren't normally able to do, and it's not something that should be taken lightly. I don't think. Even if it's tough to do, it's still one of those things that so many people want to be there, and that's the end game. That's the max goal for so many people, is to get there and do that. And it's a opportunity that's afforded to very few people.
Yeah, and I will tell you the one thing in self-reflection that I've learned over the last couple of years is that you always set a goal. You go, man, it'd be so cool to go on tour, or it'd be so cool to get our Facebook page to 5,000 likes, or and you always have these like goals in mind. And then when you reach them, you think it's going to be this, oh yeah, we did it, we hit there, but it never pays off the way you want it to pay off. And the only way to keep going is to then set a new goal. And maybe it's that artist mentality of that, you're never happy, you're never content, is you're always pushing forward. But that's always been how I've done it, and how the band's done it, is never get complacent, just keep pushing, keep setting new goals, and keep going. And I think that's really a strategy for success for any musician out there or any band out there, is never get complacent with where you are. Because there's been so many times where we've gotten to a point where I go, yeah, we did it, we made it, and then go, no, what's next? How can we push this? And that's been a huge, I didn't realize we were doing it at the time, but being able to look back, that's been a major catalyst for this band, is just continuing to push forward.
Well, anybody that's looking forward to take a strategic management class, you don't have to. You got it all taken care of right
Dude,
here.
We got it right now, man. I should have had a different major in college.
You got to keep setting goals and always reassess and set new goals, and it doesn't matter.
It's right.
That's what it comes down to. You always got to have something new on the horizon, and even as you're working towards one goal, it's like, what's going to be the next goal? What's going to be the next thing after this? And you always got to have that in your eyesight.
Yeah, and set them achievable. Like say you're a brand new band, and you're like literally, all I want to do is play that bar, like that bar that these bands play at. That is my goal. I'm gonna get a show there, and I'm gonna play there. And then if that's the goal and you achieve it, damn, dude, celebrate, have some beers. Okay, now where do you want to play? What's your next goal? Like, that's just how it is. It's easy, man.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. Set them achievable. That's another one of the benchmarks.
I told you, man, this is a self-help episode, man. I'm just laying them on you.
It's awesome though. I'm glad to see that what they're teaching me actually works. Somebody's put it into action and it works.
And no one taught me. I just had to learn that for myself. I'm like, I think this is how you're supposed to do it. Keep going.
So that just actually goes to show you that you don't have to have a business school background in order to treat your band like a business and be a successable business.
You just have to listen to Audible Farm and Iowa Music Podcast. That's literally all you need in your life.
I love it, man.
Actually, send your money to us because we need help putting these together and save it.
Oh, that's hilarious. I feel like we've gotten to know each other quite a bit in this podcast. It's one of those things that when I first contacted you and was like, well, let's do a podcast, it was like, is this guy larger than life? 22,000 followers in an Iowa-based band with songs that have hundreds of thousands of views on Facebook, etc. Is this a reachable person? Is this guy still a human being? And I'm glad to say that yes, very much you are.
Well, dude, I appreciate that, man, because I would hope you would tell me if I'm not, because that's not who I want to be. And I want to continue to be an approachable person. It's weird to think that people would think I'm not approachable. That's weird in itself. And then I just I like, if anyone out there is listening and you got questions, Facebook message me. Add me on Facebook. Shoot the band a message. I mean, we're super approachable guys, and we love finding new artists that we don't know about, and finding some people that can open up shows for us in certain areas in the States. So it's all about helping everybody out. That's a big deal for us.
Yeah. I mean, one of the important things I want to point out is the fact that, like, you're not gatekeepers, and the fact that you're like, we got here, now you figure out how to get here, because we're not giving out any of the secrets.
Good luck.
Yeah. And that's it's cool. Yeah. It's nice to know that you guys are out there being that way, because it doesn't always end up that way, and that's not always the way people act.
One, I just think about if someone, if 6 years ago, if the drummer for Hairball said, hey, everybody, look at the success we're having. If you're in a cover band and you want to learn about some of this stuff, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I would have jumped all over it. I was like, dude, I want to be where you're at. Like, help me. So I don't know. Maybe it's dumb. Maybe it's whatever. Maybe it makes me feel good that like, oh, people need my help. But I really do want to help, man. I love our music community. I love our state. I'm not originally from here, and I've totally become an Iowan. I just love this place. I love the people. I can't see myself leaving. I think it's a great state. I think our music scene's incredible, and I think more people need to know about it. So that's what's great about these kinds of podcasts, is just getting to know different musicians and checking themselves out. And dude, there's so many bands on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music. Like, everybody's got stuff out there that you can just get on a wormhole and just start listening, and it's huge.
How did you end up moving here?
My dad, I was born in St. Louis, and I lived there for 14 years. My dad took a new job right before high school and moved the family up to Cedar Rapids, which is where I still live. And it was terrible. I was like, are you kidding me? We're Iowa? Like, this is a small town. What the heck? And I swore I was going to move. I said, okay, after high school, I'm out of here. And then I said, well, I met some nice people, and University of Iowa accepted me, so I'll go there. But then after college, I'm out of here. I'm headed to the coast. I'm doing whatever. And then I just never left, man. And the thing that kept me here was the relationships. And funny enough, a lot of the relationships came about from music. Like music. If I had not moved here, I don't think I'd still be playing music. And that's a really messed up thing to say, because it's such a huge part of my life. But if I was playing drums before I moved here, but I don't think I still would. And that's weird to say that. So that's why I owe so much to this state and the people.
That's wonderful to hear, though, too. I mean, like, I think about the same thing, too. I'm not sure I would be very social at all if it weren't for the music scene, because I've actually found so many good friends in the music scene, and I found that as much as, your preconceived notions might be that these people will judge you based on the fact that you're not as good of a musician as them, that's not the case. And
not at all.
It might be the case sometimes, but it's not the case the majority of the time.
Vocal about it, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I was always scared to go to like jam nights. It's like, well, I'm going to show up here and play guitar, and these people are going to be shredding and stuff, and I'm going to be the only one that's everyone's like, geez, this guy's not as good as everyone else. But literally all anybody wants to do is to have you up there enjoying yourself. And that's one of the best part I've learned about musicians, was probably from going to jam nights and just realizing everyone's there to help each other. It's like, we're in this key. These are the chords if you want them, follow along, wait your turn for the solo, then rip it up and have fun, and that's it.
Yeah. I think we're very similar in that aspect of like, we're not always the best members of our band, and we feel a little self-conscious about it, but it just goes to show you that it really doesn't matter. Like, you're playing in a band, I'm playing in a band, and nobody cares. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh God. All I gotta say is we've covered an hour. We're well past an hour. Anybody you're hard pressed to go find a better band than the Pork Tornadoes.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you had mentioned Hairball earlier, and I would put you guys right up there with Hairball. It's one of those like ludicrously high production cover bands that, I mean, I hope you guys are around forever, but this might, things don't last forever, so run to see the Pork Tornadoes, right? As soon as you guys play another show, get out there and watch them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're going to be, I mean, our summer is kind of weird right now. We've got a few dates still. We're going to be in Okoboji on August 15th. We actually just announced a show in Des Moines. Adventureland Park is actually putting on like a concert series last minute. Speaking of Hairball, they're going to be one of the bands, but we're going to play there on Friday, August 21st. And then we've got a huge show in Cedar Rapids at the McGrath Amphitheater, September 25th. But from there, like, I don't really know what's happening the rest of the year. But, yeah, you can find us on YouTube. And we actually put out a 5-song EP of some cover songs, one of them being that Tennessee Whiskey song that we put up on Spotify and Apple Music. You can check that out as well. And yeah, that new project I'm in called Dope Walker. If you still hate Taylor Swift and cover bands, you'll love Dope Walker, because it's just indie rock. It's raw. It's 3 different singers. It's so fun. I'm so happy to be about that. And that's going to be, you can check out 2 jams of that on Apple Music, Spotify. You can order the LP, 10 songs. That's going to come out July 17th. You can order that. And then, yeah, my original band, Brian Jones, if you want some like raw kind of like what would you call it? Like post-hardcore almost. Like that was our early 2000s. That was so much fun. And you can find that online as well.
Awesome. I'll post links to a pile of the things down below in case people are listening and they don't have a pen and paper handy. So if you guys are looking for any links to anything, just scroll down. I got links to Pork Tornadoes. I'll put some links to Brian Jones. And do you have a Facebook and stuff for Dope Walker yet?
Yeah. So this just got announced officially about like a couple weeks ago. So there's a Facebook and Instagram, all that stuff. Yeah, you can find it. There's actually a little tiny URL, smart URL that has links to all that stuff. So I can send you a bunch of links if you'd like as well.
Sounds perfect. We'll put them down below for anybody looking to find the right music. I'll tell you what, go see the Pork Tornadoes if you can. I haven't seen you live, but just based on the videos I've seen, it looks like an insanely fun time. So I will do my best to get out there and see you sometime later this year, hopefully.
Yeah, dude, drop me a line. We can get you to one of the shows for sure. And I think it'd be a great crossover episode. I say we have you on the Iowa Music Podcast. I say we flip the script here and we let you be the guest on my podcast.
Oh gosh. Oh man. Yeah. Make me nervous.
Gotta do it.
Put me in the hot seat. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that sometime. So everybody make sure you check out the Iowa Music Podcast, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe I'll make an appearance there sometime.
Look at that.
Oh, man. So, Mike, I got to say thank you very much for sitting down and talking with me. I'm going to end the recording, but don't run away quite yet.
You got it, man.
All right. Thank you very much. Whoa. What a great guy. This is another one of those. I talked about it a tiny bit in the podcast, but, you meet people who are famous or have reached a certain level of fame, and it always makes me a little bit nervous to talk to the people and be like, is this person really gonna, be down to earth and all this other stuff? And Mike is down to earth in spades. Very approachable, very easy to talk to person. If you have any questions, like we discussed in this podcast, he will give you the information that he has available to him to let you know anything. Like you said, booking contacts, different avenues that you want to take with your band. Different ways to anything, whatever it comes down to, and a lot of this comes down to the fact that he's got a lot of experience in it, and that's worth its weight in gold as far as I'm concerned. I'm pretty novice to the music scene as compared to a lot of the people I've sat down and talked to, so taking their advice not lightly is the correct way to go about doing things. So if you want to listen to more of what Mike's got to talk about, check out the Iowa Music Podcast. Highly suggested. It's a buddy podcast of ours. I'm going to throw a link on our website to talk about it. So if you scroll down in the description section, it'll be down there. It'll also be at the bottom of our website with a whole bunch of our other buddy podcasts. So check it out. I got to say, huge shout out to Mike for taking some time out of his evening to sit down and talk with me and enlighten me and some of my guests or listeners, I guess I should say, as far as what's going down in his life. Because it's really cool to get people's stories and see what shaped them into being who they are. And, he was very brutally honest, honestly, being in an original band and kind of having I want to say disdain, but it was more like he didn't necessarily enjoy cover bands as much, and he eventually kind of got out of music and then started getting back into it, and it was cover bands that got him to get back into music. So I love seeing things like that come full circle. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it in other people's lives, and it's really nice when somebody can sit down and honestly admit that to someone. So shout out to Mike for the honesty in this podcast. It's very much appreciated, and I'm sure there's not too many other people that feel too differently than he has felt, at least at one point in time or another. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy between the cover bands and the original bands, but so a lot of that's a blessing and a curse on both ends. So everybody's got their own shortcomings they've got to overcome, as well as their own mountains that they've got to climb. And like I said, it was great to hear Mike's perspective on both of those. So huge shout out to Mike for being so open and honest in this podcast. I also got to say thanks to everybody listening. Huge shout out to anybody listening for the first time. Go back and check out all our old episodes. They're all available wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube, any streaming service, as well as directly off of our website, www.audiblefarm.com. Hey, while you're at audiblefarm.com, you should check it out. I put a link up there to a shop. Audiblefarm.com will take you to a shop that I have created with Big Cartel, which is a company that allows you to have a shop online. And shout out to Kelsey Magnolia, artist Kelsey Magnolia down in the Des Moines area. She helped me, gave me a bunch of advice on how to what would be the best ways to set this up and construct it. So huge shout out to her for giving me some advice on this. And if you guys want to check out the shop, you can go to Audible Farm Podcast and click on the shop link. Otherwise, go to audiblefarm.bigcartel.com. What's in the shop? I'll tell you what's in the shop. T-shirts, zip-up hoodies, stickers, and soon to be more stickers. That's right. We've got all sorts of crazy stuff there. You no longer have to wait to see if you can catch me at a show or meet up when I'm in your town to hand off a t-shirt. No, now you can go online and just buy it and I'll ship it to you, and it's the end of the story, and it's boom, it's as easy and done as that. Furthermore, if you guys want to, you can get some stickers there. I got stickers available. We got a whole bunch of new holographic stickers, including a new logo that we never really used that much. It's actually was the banner on our Facebook page, and the banner, it might even currently still be the banner on our YouTube page. And otherwise, we just never really used that logo too much, but we revamped it. We brought it back from the dead, and it's there. And so you guys can check it out. If you want to order some stickers, any number of you got to order 4 stickers or more, and if you enter the code SAVE25, it takes 25% off your sticker order. So 4 stickers or more, save 25% with the code word SAVE25, and that is on the Audible Farm's Big Cartel shop site. So like I said, you can access that directly from Audible Farm, the website audiblefarm.com. Otherwise, there's t-shirts and stickers and all sorts of stuff there. If you order a t-shirt and then order a sticker, I'll just ship the sticker for free. There's no extra shipping on the stickers for that. But check it out. If you guys want to check it out, that's where it's at. I'll put a link to it down in the description section, as well as links to all of the awesomeness that Mike has available to you. So check that out. Otherwise, there's links down there for Couchtown Coffee as well. So don't forget to enter that code word pork and save 20% on your order this week and get yourself some of the best coffee that is available to you today. It's Couchtown Coffee. Boom. There it is. The episode's over. Everybody did an amazing job on this one. Hats off to Mike. Go check his podcast out, please. It's worth it. It's totally worth it. If you like this one, you will love his podcast. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. So check it out. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Couchtown, and hey, thanks, Kelsey, for helping us with that Big Cartel shop site. Really appreciate it. So check it out, everybody. We will catch you next week with another episode. Peace.